All right, I believe we're live here. It is June 11th right now. So it's been 2 weeks now, more or less, after Erzberg. We got Carson Brown here on the show tonight for Two Wheel Tuesday. Obviously, he's not necessarily known as a hard enduro guy, but for some reason he got tricked into racing Erzberg and representing the off-road world. And it's really cool, bringing a whole new set of eyes to the event. Obviously, it's grown exponentially over the years. I think it started for me with Nitro Circus when Pastrana went and McGrath went, and they all filmed it. And I was a young kid watching MTV, and when people watched MTV and TV in general, and I was like, I need to do that. I'm a trials guy, so I've been fortunate enough now to go multiple times, finish on the podium there. It's just an incredible race, incredible venue. Honestly, the race itself sucks, but everything else behind the race is a really cool event and atmosphere. It's like Burning Man for gearheads, rednecks, European rednecks, I guess. Anyways, just want to do a quick intro. We got Carson Brown here, who I'd consider probably the biggest moto related content creator on Instagram right now. I love watching all his videos. I'm sure everyone else does too, and he does a really good job of tricking us to comment on there because he wants our feedback on stuff. But yeah, no, just really fun stuff he's got. And then obviously now a Red Bull athlete as well, doing some really cool content stuff with them, getting sent to Erzberg. Anyways, Carson, I hope you could do a quick intro about yourself, kind of talk about your history. I don't know if everyone knows about BBR, but I'm sure most people do. So once again, welcome to have you on here.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. We've pretty much grew up Pacific Northwest boy, not too far from Seattle. My family, they do BBR motorsports, testing, developing pit bike parts, all that fun stuff. So kind of been around dirt bikes ever since I was from day one basically, and getting to be all around the development and testing of all the parts and behind the scenes stuff that goes on there. And started racing a bit when I was younger and kind of accidentally got fast and did some supercross stuff, did some outdoor stuff, but just doing a whole bunch of fun stuff right now on all different year bikes. Big, small, doesn't matter what brand, all of it. I'm having a blast and it's been cool.
Yeah, no, it's honestly really fun to see. So I don't know, obviously, that you did have the racing career. And it wasn't like you were slow or anything. I know it's really difficult to get into that and make it work. Can you kind of allude to what got you out of like the full-time racer into the just professional fun haver, we'll call it?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of did the transition into professional fun haver for sure. But I mean, I grew up, did Loretta's, all that fun stuff, racing. I had a Team Green Ride, had a blast. Just like any kid, I struggled with injuries when I turned pro a whole bunch, but that's just kind of part of the game. And I mean, my best Supercross finish was a fifth, so I was stoked on that. But I mean, behind the scenes to make that stuff work, like it's so gnarly unless you're on a factory team. So, to make any money racing is, almost impossible. And just kind of had a blast riding in the backyard and doing all that stuff. Anyways, everybody's like, "Hey, man, you should film that and show everybody what you're doing." And kind of started doing that. Had some buddies make an Instagram account for me and start posting a bunch on there, and kind of transitioned into what we've got going now. And sponsors are happy, people are happy, and more than anything, like it's been really cool to kind of bring everybody together, not just the racers, but off-road riders, trail riders, just backyard dudes. That's what I really enjoy, and that's what I love, even more than the racing. And that's kind of why I transitioned over to this, is just the community. I love the community of motocross so much.
I mean, I can obviously really appreciate it because I definitely respect the results you had in the racing career, but it really kind of seems like deep down inside you're a closet off-roader yourself watching all
Yeah.
your videos. So it's and then you took it to a whole new level and signed up for Erzberg. Well, maybe Red Bull forced you to do it, but I mean, why not? If you have that opportunity, it's pretty incredible. It's funny. I had a call with a guy on here the other day because I do like 15-minute kind of calls anyone when they come on, kind of talk about their goals, this and that. And there's a guy, Nick, from your area, and he says, shout out from a guy in Unumclaw. He loves riding
Yeah, Enumclaw, yeah.
he likes riding your pirate trails.
Yep.
Yeah, so
We've got some cool stuff around here.
yeah, so I actually talked to him the other day, and we haven't talked about it too much, but obviously there's a lot of chats from Red Bull. Our stepdad Matson is he's normally Carson's caretaker. You should probably really follow Matson Hunter, I think his name is, on Instagram. But whenever they're going to events and making Carson do these things, he acts like Carson's moto dad. And like his Instagram stories are so funny, like talking about selling the motor home or stuff like that. But there's a lot of chats about trying to get Carson and I to do some, related content together. And I told Nick, I was like, oh, if I ever go that way, I might, let you know secretly where we might be, so he can come and hang out with us when we're riding.
Yeah, we got to get you up here for sure. Like, there's such good off-road stuff. I mean, obviously nothing Erzbergy that, I can find. I'm sure there's stuff around here that I don't know about, but, we got to get you up here because there's so many trails, and the moto scene up here in the PNW is just massive. Like, they're so passionate because, I'm sure just like, kind of anywhere on the West Coast, the rain and snow and any of that, the riders got to deal with that all year round. So it seems like they're so passionate up here, more than a lot of other states. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's definitely quite a bit of people on the platform here, kind of in your area, Idaho-ish, and BC. A lot of guys from BC as well. So I've never ridden Bellingham. I don't know how far that is from you, but I've heard a lot of good things about there too. Obviously mountain biking related, but I'm sure there's some good moto stuff as well.
Yeah, Bellingham, Walker Valley.
Yeah, Walker Valley, that gets talked a lot about. I've heard about that a lot.
Yeah, I actually went out there for the first time not too long ago because I was trying to find, some tricky stuff before Erzberg. And a couple of my buddies are like, yeah, dude, come out to Walker Valley. And so I checked that out, and it was super fun. Definitely got to get back there and do a little bit more preparation before our next hard enduro.
Yeah, before next time. So, I mean, we might as well hop into it now, Erzberg. Did you ever, growing up, or, obviously I'm sure you've seen the event, but do you have any aspiration to go there to compete?
Yeah, so ever since I was a little kid, it was a dream of mine to go there just because it seemed like it was the hardest core of moto people. And, just it's not these prissy dudes that, want to have the perfect weather and perfect conditions. These guys are riding no matter what. And I could see that through all the videos. And I had a few of my buddies' dads go there, and they did it and told me all about it. And I was like, I got to do this. Obviously, I saw it on Nitro Circus and YouTube and all that stuff. And I was like, this seems like my kind of deal. Like I'm no hard enduro rider in any way, shape, or form, but just to, see what's going on there and, be a part of it. I was like, I got to check it out and give this thing a shot.
Yeah. Well, obviously Red Bull is an awesome company, and I don't know why they back people like us, but I'm obviously happy about it. I do my part sometimes. I'll buy Red Bulls on road trips, so I'm keeping job security, So
absolutely.
I want to dive in a little bit. A lot of people were asking, I'm sure they were asking you, commenting on your stuff as well, why didn't you ride a newer bike? Like, what was it, to go along with the trend of everything on Instagram, or what was the deal with the bike choice?
I was just going with, whatever we could really find. And, that generation of the KTM just seemed so cool. And Matson and a few guys got looking, and they're like, hey, what year bike would you want to ride? And I was like, the 2008, as long as it's got electric start, I'm all for that thing. And the Shruff Moto guys, they found a real Erzberg edition 2008 KTM 300. So I was like, oh, dude, I'm doing that for sure. And, honestly, the bike was pretty darn good. Especially for what I was doing, because I had no idea what I was doing, to be honest. And so, having it be carbureted and just pretty much like a really simple bike kind of worked out for me. It's nothing new as far as what I'm concerned, where some of the newer bikes are like, one big computer, so
Yeah.
it's tricky if things go wrong with it. But some downsides were definitely I was crashed a lot, and with it being on its side, I ran out of gas pretty quickly. And
Yeah.
then the electric starter went out the first time I needed it on Sunday. So I was a little bit bummed about that, but did have kickstart. So yeah, it got me through, but I was so cramped by the end I couldn't even get my leg up on that Kickstarter basically.
I will admit, like you were on a 2008 KTM 250. That was my first ever dirt bike because I rode trials my whole life. So I bought a 2008 KTM. I had an SX though, but I put a flywheel weight on it. So that was my first ever dirt bike. So when I heard you were riding that, I was like kind of jealous because I thought that bike was so rad back in the day when I first started. Kind of what got me into the whole enduro off road world. But I don't know what it was, but like listening to all the other bikes out there, your bike for sure sounded the best. I don't know what they did to that thing. I don't know if it was just because it was carbed or what, but compared to the newer KTM's, like your bike was so crisp. I mean, they built it up, right? It wasn't just like kind of a stock bike. There was some work done to it, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so I kind of pressed them on it. They didn't say too much about the engine. They kept saying it was a standard engine, but as far as the pipe goes, I think they used an older pipe and then a different carburetor. And to be honest, I know we were at elevation and everything, but the thing absolutely ripped. And especially on the Prologue, I heard a lot of the injected bikes and stuff kind of cutting out, and my '08 carbureted beast was just hauling. So I wasn't I wasn't too bummed about any of that there. So I was honestly super happy with the bike, especially uh for Prologue. And as far as my riding ability goes for hard enduro, I think it was as good as it could be.
Yeah. So I will let everyone know that you did the starter obviously went out. I know you talked about that. I don't think they realized how early in the race it actually went out. It wasn't like it went out somewhere in Carl's Diner. Like it was what before checkpoint 4, I think it quit working.
Yeah, literally the first time that I needed to use it, it didn't work. So, we got up the first bunch of hills, and then we got into some of the trees, and there was kind of like this gnarly uphill with people kind of scattered on it. And I waited around for a little bit, hoping to get a clean run at it. And then literally 50 people just scattered on the hill. And I was like, okay, whatever. And so I go, and then I'm up on the hill and just off camber and like upside down. And I go to hit the starter. And I'm like, oh no, oh no.
Yeah.
I was so bummed. I think everybody around me knew how bummed I was at that point. I made it pretty clear to
Yeah.
myself. So, I mean, but then I kickstarted it. And honestly, it kickstarted fairly easily until it was starting to run out of gas, which I didn't realize because I the last thing in the world I was doing was looking at the
Yeah,
fuel
down,
tank to
yeah.
see how much was actually in it. And I was in Carl's dinner, and I was kicking the thing like 10 times. And I was like, man, what is going on? It was starting like decent earlier, and then it just, and I was like, oh,
Oh,
man, we're
I'm
out
out
of
of
gas.
gas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one of the questions someone had on here is what did you think of the prologue?
So Prologue was super cool. Definitely one of the more riskier things I've ever done because
Yeah.
it's really fast paced with boulders on the sides. And then if you clip a boulder, you'll also go off a cliff. So,
I mean, it's
um,
pretty far, but there is a chance. There's a remote
yeah,
chance.
there is a chance this is me we're talking about. I mean,
Yeah,
I could
fair,
find a
fair,
way,
fair.
but no, it was super cool. And uh, there, the amount of element as far as like just trying to go fast and not knowing where it goes is what was getting me. Being a moto guy, the course wasn't bad because it was pretty fast paced, but not being able to necessarily see or read where it's going to go was tricky for me. And then the first day of Prologue, like right when I kind of went, a cloud went onto that mountain, and I literally couldn't see 30 feet in front of me.
Yeah, like probably the last third of the track, maybe.
Yeah, like the last third of the track,
Because it was when
I
you got
went
all the way up
so
in that.
slow.
It was when it was wide open on that plateau, right? When you
Yeah,
go, which is like that's the top tier. So maybe, yeah, the last 20% of the track, you probably had no visibility.
yeah, there was zero visibility, and that was the fastest part. It was literally just a huge mining road, super wide, and I knew that there were tires and stuff somewhere, and I
Yeah,
couldn't see. And I putted, like I went so slow, and by the time I made it to those tires, I was like, I lost so much time. Like
yeah,
I was bummed. And but the sad thing was, I went through the finish, and I was like, well, all the other guys obviously must not have been able to see either. I couldn't have had that bad a time.
yeah.
And I was like sitting there, and I was like, yeah, I don't think it was that bad. And then they're like, yeah, you're sitting in like 36, and I was like, oh boy, they
Oh,
definitely were sending it harder.
yeah. Well, you redeemed yourself day two because I mean, you obviously, I think you finished sixth or eighth. I forget what you ended
Yeah,
up, sixth.
so
But
day
you got third
two.
on the day. But like, tell everyone how gnarly day two is. It's the most destroyed track I
Yeah,
think in existence.
I talked to some of the guys that rode it last on the first day, and they're like, "Yeah, dude, it is beat up and rocks everywhere." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, and,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah."
Sure, whatever.
I went off the. There was one like jump. There's literally one jump after you go through the start, and it's a double. And I mean, this thing was probably like 15 feet, like tiny, and I almost crashed off that. And I was like, this isn't going to be good. And the whole time I was out there, like I was kind of, kind of sifting through the lines and like looking, but I kind of knew better on where it went because I watched Johnny Walker put a video out, and I studied that thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, now I know where the course goes. It doesn't matter if there's a cloud or not, which luckily there wasn't, but I was able to kind of weave the rocks and everything. And man, I almost crashed it up a few times. But I dude, I do not want to hit one of those boulders. I can tell you that. But we
Oh,
got
trust
third
me.
on the
I
day.
could tell you, you don't want to hit one of those boulders.
Yeah,
I did.
I don't want to do what you did.
Yeah.
And so we got third on the day, and then eighth overall. Two guys that finished in front of me didn't do the main race, so then I was sixth
Oh, that's how you were
for
sixth.
the
Yeah.
sixth for that.
And I
So
mean, you raced Joseph Garcia, who is, the top of his game right now in World Enduro. He actually is really good friends with Mark Marquez. He grew up in like the KTM Junior, like MotoGP program, and then he's a phenomenal motocrosser. Like, so the guy you got beat by, he's on a 350. You shouldn't feel bad. And then the Polish guy who beat you, he's really fast. He came from motocross, transferred to enduro, hard enduro. But yeah, he's pretty impressive rider as well. So you were right about where I expected you, but I expect you to be better on the first day, not the second day.
the first day, I literally thought about that all night. I was like, man, am I this far off pace on this kind of
No,
prologue thing? I was bummed.
you had a bad run.
Yeah.
We got two questions that popped up when we were just chatting there. Trent asked if there was any big, long, drawn-out hill climbs that gave you trouble during the main race.
So as far as hill climbs that gave me trouble during the main race, I'd say there was one in the woods. I have no idea what checkpoint it was, but that was
Yeah,
where I lost all my positions because I literally just had to drag the bike all the way up because there was guys scattered on the whole hill, couldn't get a clean run. And I spent, I think, an hour and a half there, legitimately, looking at the times. And I had to have somebody like one of the other riders help me get the bike up. Then I helped him get his up a little bit. And so that was the hardest part of the race for me. And I started cramping after that because I didn't take my time to like eat food, even though I was sitting there. I was just kind of in the moment. And then there was another hill climb right before Carl's dinner, and that one didn't seem like
that's
that
right
bad.
after a checkpoint, I believe, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
there was guys everywhere on it, and I don't think it was that bad of a hill climb. It's just by that point
Can't get a
I
clean
was
run by anymore, and you were
yeah,
beat.
no clean run. It took me like 5 shots to even get halfway up that thing because there were so many guys. And then I was so like blown out and tired. I had the fans there all like, dude, just go right here and here. And like I was sitting down, elbows down. I could like get my throttle and pull it all the way and then get my clutch and then pop it, but like no regulation of any sort at all.
Yeah.
So like I think there's a video on my YouTube. I'm halfway up this thing and I'm just whoa, and then dump the clutch, just the exact wrong thing that you need to do, but it's all that I could do. Like physically, it's what I had. And then I was like, all right, Carl's dinner's up next. And then I was just crammed.
I am not ready. I feel like a misconception about Erzberg is everyone thinks of the hill climbs being the issue. And those are all early in the race. And they're just seeing all the amateurs in like 400th place ghost riding their bike.
Oh, I was right there with them.
Well, you did water pipe fine. You probably did Three Kings fine. Remember the one we walked on the way back? We walked, or we when we rode the bike, and then we looked off the edge. I'm like, oh, there's Three Kings. There's some options here. Did you make that one first try?
Yeah, I made every hill first try except
until the woods.
And yeah, until the woods, and then I was just screwed. Once
the woods, the woods are what destroy you there because it's never on TV, so you don't know what's out there. Because you watch everything. Like my first time there, I was like, oh my God, this is treacherous out here. Yeah. And the hill climbs were like the easiest part.
I was literally in like 15th place. And by the time I got over that thing, because so many dudes like cut in front and did all that, like everybody told me the biggest thing that you don't want to do is wait in a section for other people.
Yeah.
What do? I get to the first spot where there's people waiting, and I waited and just absolutely, no regard for what everybody else told me. I just screwed it up.
Yeah. Well, I had kid Ryan. He asked, it's more of a question for me, but he goes, do you think having Carl's Diner earlier in the race is better for the event and racing as a whole? Also a big change for the non-top guys too, since there was 10 more people starting that section. I think it's better for the sport because most people never even get to see Carl's Diner. Unfortunately, you did have to go see it and go through there, but I feel like that's an iconic part of the race that people want to, or Carl's Dinner or Diner, whatever it is. It's an iconic part of the race people want to do, and most people never even get to there. So it's good and bad. I just feel like the first part of the race is so high paced. You know what I mean? Like those guys are sprinting hard, going up and down those hills, and then I'm getting arm punctures sitting in a mine for 2 hours, so you're not warmed up. So I don't know. I was ready this year. I was ready to do it, but I didn't get to go, and or didn't get to race. But I think it's probably a good thing to have Carl's Dinner earlier. What do you think?
Yeah, I think just like you said, there's so many guys that go there and never get a chance to experience that, and it's good for the sport to get dudes, get the experience in that sort of stuff. I think, I've never experienced anything like that in my life. So it was good to be able to get in there and learn.
Yeah. Now you know for next year, but they're just going to change the route. Talking about that, or talking about next year, someone had a question. Oh, do you think you'll do more hard enduros in the future? If so, would it just be for fun, or you're thinking about maybe dedicating a little more time to train for them?
Definitely. I want to do some more. We've got Tennessee Knockout. I'm on the list to do that. So that's going to be an exciting one. I hope to get some more prep leading into it. And then Erzberg, planning on going there again. Definitely going to give it my best shot. Get a bunch more training in now that I kind of know how it goes. And, hopefully get with you, Cody, and get a few things sorted out. Because, I'm just full motocross mentality, smashed into things, and just wore myself in the bike out pretty quick. So
yeah, if you hit it with speed, it'll buff out.
Yeah.
When in doubt, throttle out.
And the amount of time and effort that it takes to get to a race like Erzberg, definitely want to give it my best shot if
you're making that effort.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I did talk to Mattson, who's our stepdad that take care of us. Mattson drove me around, took me to the hospital. He's Carson's moto dad, threatening to sell the bikes. But yeah, he's our Red Bull guy, and Jeremy is also, he's been there forever as the moto athlete rep, I guess he is. I don't know. He's our big boss. But I talked to both of them today on a call about TKO, and Madsen said that we will be training together. So I got some ideas in brewing up in my head. So obviously I got a couple more weeks off the bike, but I'll do my best to help prepare you this time for TKO. And TKO most likely will be the slickest rocks you've ever seen in your entire life.
That's going to be a hard combination for me. When
Yeah.
when I got asked about TKO, I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll do it." And I honestly hadn't watched a video of it, knew nothing about it. I'm just like, "Oh, I've heard of TKO, like I'll do it."
Yeah.
And then I started watching a video, and I was like, "Huh." And then I asked a few of my buddies that have done it, and they're like, "Yeah, dude, that race is really gnarly. Are you sure you want to do that?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm all for it. I'm
Yeah,
committed at this
it's
point."
super. It's obviously super humid. You're in the thick, thick Appalachian mountains. I don't know what mountains they are out there, but it's pretty brutal, mostly just because of the temperature and the heat, I'd say. And obviously the rocks like sweat there. So when we're there, I'll remind you to like stay away from the rocks in the creek that are like black because it's almost like a moss, and they are slippery no matter what you do. Like they're just sweating. The rocks like sweat there. So yeah, I think it'll be really good for you. Honestly, it gets harder as it goes. So it's not like Erzberg where it's just like one race. Like you have knockout rounds, and I think you'll probably quite enjoy. As long as it's not raining, you'll probably really enjoy the first moto. It's not too terrible and pretty racy. It's kind of like just a really tough hair scramble where there's not really like rock gardens like Carl's Diner, whatever it is. So I think you'll be fine for TKO until the intensity in the main. If you get there, you're going to be like, what the hell are these guys doing?
I've heard that there's a prologue there too. Is that correct?
Yeah. So prologue this year for TKO. It hasn't been announced. We're talking about it here because who cares? They're not going to fire us. We are racing in downtown Nashville again on Lower Broadway like we did 2 years ago. We are starting in a bar or on a bar. I don't know, something like that this time. So we're not starting on the street. They're trying to do more branding with other bars in the area and stuff. So it sounds like they have some fun ideas to get like the bars downtown into it and kind of get some sponsorship on that thing. So there might be some specific sections on the track. I tried to talk him into doing a concrete cylinder, like the drainage pipe, a whoop section. Oh, Ryan Boardman said it was announced earlier today. So I missed that on social media. It was announced today. So we're old news. Yeah, I'm trying to do a concrete whoop section just for you because, Supercross guy. I need to give you some whoops. I don't know if you hit concrete cylinder whoops. I haven't really either, but I'm sure we'll be fine. So yeah, it'll be sweet to do that. I think I'm assuming it'll probably be Thursday night, I'm guessing, in Nashville. So just really cool. Like it's so awesome the stuff Red Bull thinks to throw money at to make us feel
Yeah,
like we're special.
it's a good group of people right there, and yeah, I'm looking forward to TKO. I mean, it's from everything I hear, it's gonna be brutal, but also fun and different with stuff like that being downtown there. So definitely looking forward to something new.
And that, not only that, but it's also part of like the World Hard Enduro Championship, kind of like Erzberg is. And our other races, the U.S. Hard Enduro Series is growing pretty good in the States right now, but it's not like, there's not like thousands of fans rushing to each race. But TKO, since they got a lot of international guys and it's a pretty established race, it's probably definitely the most exciting one for as a racer, especially in the main event, because it's more of a condensed final where you're doing laps and it's super cool. Everyone's just there throwing water on you to go by as you go by to cool you off. And it's our version of Redbud, obviously way lamer, but feels cool.
The suffer fest.
Yeah. Oh, it's complete suffer. So yeah, we've already answered some of these other questions. Sounds like you'll race it again next year. Someone asking about that. What would you do different next year if you race again? I'm going to sing not waiting and just going.
Yeah, I mean, definitely not waiting. Another big one for me was getting enough fluids and food in me the days prior. I did pretty good the day of, but it still wasn't enough. I cramped up so bad.
Yeah,
And then,
that's like it's a week prep. Like the moment you get there, you're like just taking everything you can, peeing 30 times a day.
yeah, and it's
That's
so
the way to
hard
do it.
to honestly find water that tastes like American water. I know that sounds weird,
Well,
but
yeah, I found out you can't get Prickland. I don't know. If you grab that one, it's like the sparkling water.
yeah, it's no good. I mean,
Yeah,
the mineral water there and stuff, no good. So there's that, and then just getting enough gels and food in me. Tire setup. I mean, we didn't really know which tire setup to run the day of.
luckily we
Luckily,
sorted
Carl
that
came
though.
over. Yeah, Carl came over, set that straight, and I think you did too.
Yeah,
So little less hectic on race day. And just honestly knowing how it works is just more of a benefit for me than anything that I can prepare for it.
yeah, I would say so. Um, what do you think are the three most important things that you would recommend? Like if you had a buddy coming next year, what are three important things you would tell them to get them prepped if they were going to do Erzberg?
Definitely ride some fire roads if you can see those. Get ready for Prologue, and
Okay.
then play around with different tire setup, gearing, all that, just to know what your bike is gonna do. And there's just so many elements there because there's rocks and there's gravel and there's dirt and grass, and it's not just one element; it's everything. And the weather there, I could not figure out if it was gonna be sunny or rainy or
Temperamental.
foggy. Yeah, all of it. So uh just being prepared for that and having your goggles and gear and everything ready to change at the last second too. So that's definitely something.
I felt like this was, I mean, I've been there 6 or 7 times now. I don't know. But this was the wettest, like rain every day it rained. I think it rained every day we were there except once. And it just was so gloomy. Normally I'm wearing shorts. Like I think I wore shorts once the whole time we were there. So it was definitely still remnants of spring, not so much summer there this year. So you didn't have it easy. I'll give you that part. I'll give you that. Someone asked what tire you did end up running and how was it?
Um,
I
I
forget what it
think it
was.
was
You
either,
had a Mitas and then you changed it. Oh, you had a Metzler. I think you had a
yeah,
Metzler.
we went with a Metzler. I was
Yeah.
running a double green, and then I think we switched to a Metzler. And it was good. And then we
Yeah,
drilled
I
out
remember.
the tube.
Yeah. The I think the moose you had in was like the one you ran in the prologue, and then they just like, oh, it's used. We'll just throw it in. And Carl saw me. He's like, hey, go talk to Carson. His tire is bad. I'm like, what? Okay. So I like hobbled over there and I'm like, you guys had already had the tire off. I'm like, let me feel this thing. And I felt the tire you were going to race with Sunday. And I was like, oh boy, I'm glad somebody felt this and told you because you would have had a hell of a time. I mean, I'm sure you still had a hell of a time, but I think they ended up taking like an old beat up moose from something else, some other tire they had. And I saw them shaving the outside. So that's a good trick for, I think we've talked about it on here before, but like shaving the outside basically gives more of a void in there, so the tire flexes a little bit more. So at least you got sorted after that situation.
Yeah, Carl came over and he was not stoked on the setup, and he was like, "All right, we're going over to Manny's bike and everybody's bike. You're gonna feel everybody's tire here." And so he took me around the pits and I felt them all, and he's like, "What are you doing trying to run that other one?" I'm like, "I don't know, man. It's my first
Yeah,
hard neuro."
I don't even know what I'm doing here. What am I here
Yeah,
for?
I'm just here.
So this wasn't a question that anyone had. But there's a question I had for you was now that you're back, obviously a lot of people kind of followed the journey, saw, knew you were there. Has there been any interest from people you've talked to or people messaging you online who weren't really into this stuff and now they're like, oh, like, is there any interest for people that sign up to do Erzberg or some sort of hard enduro after seeing your trials and tribulations?
Yeah. I mean, there's been a ton of people that have come forward and asked me about it that have always wanted to do it and are trying to find a way to do it and just ask kind of the process on how it all works there. So it'd definitely be cool to see more Americans get over there. And I've got a couple buddies here that want to make it happen next year. Hopefully, Jaden Donners and a few of those guys. So it would definitely be cool to get at least a few Pacific Northwest guys there, and It seems like the moto community, they know what Erzberg is, but being a moto guy and then showing the moto guys what it is, I think it was kind of an eye opener for all them because, there's some guys that are like, oh, off road guys, they just, they putt around and can
Yeah.
go up steep hills. And, a moto guy can do that. But I mean, that's not true. I mean, I knew that going into this, how gnarly the hard enduro guys were. I mean, it's a full different aspect. It's more trials than anything.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, that's just complete opposite of moto, so you can't
Yeah.
even really compare it.
I definitely can say that, like, obviously the moto guys know Erzberg, but I don't think they really know about it because I went to Thunder Valley this weekend or last weekend for the national, and I was hanging out afterwards with a bunch of my buddies kind of by the podium, and I saw Trey Kennard there, and they were talking to my buddy, so I talked to Trey for just a couple minutes, and my buddies introduced me as the world's fastest goon rider. That's like, I'll take that. That's fair. That's a good compliment. But yeah, I never met Trey before. I just barely talked to him once before at a Supercross, but didn't actually like meet him really. So I talked to him a little bit, and it's funny. Like, to me, everyone knows Erzberg, and he knew it, but like he didn't even know the prologue was like flat out up a road. Like, I don't I don't know. It like baffles me that these guys don't know this stuff. But I think because the moto world, there's so much content, there's so many races, there's this and that, there's the amateurs, there's Loretta's, and like as an off-road guy, especially from trials, I came from trials. Like I got like on the cover of Cycle News once in my career as a trials rider. Like we get zero recognition. And then I transferred to off-road, so it's better, but it's still not that great. But like anytime there's anything off-road related, or we follow everything as an off-roader. We follow motocross, supercross. And I feel like the motocross, supercross guys are so hectic, they only kind of know their own little niche. And off-road people know anything and everything. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think what the coolest thing about off-road to me is, and like you said, like off-roaders, they know, all of the different elements and sports of motocross and dirt bikes and all that. And the cool thing to me about off-road is everything that you do on a dirt bike helps for off-road. Doesn't matter if you're doing moto or a trail ride or just trials or flat track or just even riding down the street. It all kind of helps as far as the off-road stuff goes, where with moto it's like, grind laps
Your
and
sprints,
with the
laps and
sprints with the
sprints.
stopwatch, and the trails and stuff help. But with
I don't know what you're talking about. Haven't you seen motocross? They go out for an off-road ride.
oh yeah.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden she's killing it, or he, whatever it was. I don't know. I remember.
Gotta paint the nails.
Yeah, maybe I need that for my arm pump. But no, you're exactly right. Like everyone's so focused, and like we had Daniel Castellou. He was like a wrench for a bunch of those guys
Yeah.
in that world. Like, so he was working at Sherco for a bit as our mechanic helper guy, and he was Justin Cooper's mechanic. And they were like doing a star photo shoot, and there was like this log on the ground, and Justin Cooper like rode over the log, and he made Daniel film it, and he's like, "Yeah, dude, look at this, so gnarly." And Daniel was like, "Dude, that's pathetic," but like didn't want to break his heart.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I don't know. I love it. Like I've hung out with Aaron Plessinger before at an FMF shoot, and obviously he came from GNCC background, and his dad was a super reputable racer as well. I think he won multiple championships. But like we did the photo shoot, and Aaron's like, "Oh, we're at Zaka Station. I don't know. You've probably ridden there maybe very
Yeah.
few times until it got closed. Awesome natural track, so fun." And we're doing the photos there, and Aaron's like, "Oh, let's go ride some single track." I'm like, "Dude, we're in cow pasture. Like, there's no trails out here, dude." So I don't know.
Yeah,
They
he's
they
a
need to ride with
beast,
you
man.
more. Your trails, those are real trails. Those are sick.
Yeah, we're gonna get you up here. I'm gonna drag you here if I have to. I'm gonna
Yeah,
just show up and be like, "Hey, man, we're doing
we're
a Seattle
going.
trip right now."
Yeah. So, anyways, I don't know if we can chat yet about your bike, but I'm sure you have something special in store for TKO. I don't know if it'll be a 2008 KTM. Will you have an E-Start on it? Is what are we going for? You know what it is yet, or are you still working on it?
Yeah, so I know what it is. Don't know if I can say what it's gonna be yet.
Yeah,
It's very Carson Brown style, and I'm
love it.
gonna have to add an E-Start kit to it. So
I'm
if
gonna
that
have to
gives you
look
any
and see
hints
if
there.
I'm gonna have to look and see if TWs come with an E-Start. Then we'll
Oh
see.
yeah. The fat tires on the rocks. I mean, Might
I
be
mean,
good, might be bad.
contact patch. It's good. The bigger
Yeah,
contact
exactly.
patch, more traction to the ground. All right. Anyways, I'm going to leave it at that. We're 40 minutes in. Super stoked to have you on here and chat about Erzberg. I wanted to talk to you. Obviously, we chatted a little bit after the race, but you were beat. Bike came back in a station wagon. You came back later. Good. Just honestly, awesome experience for you, I'm sure. I even had fun, even though I busted myself. But yeah, super stoked you came on tonight, Carson. And anything else you got to say before you go? Or is that about it?
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I don't know if Matson, our stepdad, showed you, but he had a picture of a bike in the back of the car before we went there, and he thought it was funny. He said we were headed to
Oh yeah,
Harrisburg.
he sent that. I think he
Yeah,
sent
and
that
then
to
he
us.
had a picture of literally the bike in the back of the car coming back, and I swear to you, it looked the exact same. Like I was dying. Like he predicted the future exactly. It was unbelievable.
He's up to something. All right, yeah, I did see that. We'll have to try and get him to post that on his story.
Yeah.
Anyways, if you guys don't already, follow Carson Brown 910. I don't know, something like that, right?
Yep, Carson Brown _910 on
910.
Instagram and
And your
TikTok.
YouTube's blowing up. Your YouTube is blowing up in like a ridiculously short amount of time. So check that out too. He's got the Erzberg Pro recap on there. He's the dude. He's doing it all right now. So you got to check it out because it's just fun stuff to watch. It's just fun.
All right. If you want to see me suffer, check out that latest video. But I appreciate you having me on here, and I'm happy to come on anytime. Thank you.
Oh, one more thing before I'm going to have you text me when we get off. But someone brought up you had like an MTV Cribs on your
Oh, yeah.
property.
Yeah. I saw somebody ask that. So my sister, they used to do this thing called teen cribs, and they'd go around all these teenagers' houses or whatever. And then so my sister got on there, because we knew some of the MTV crew and all that from some other stuff, and they're like, "Yeah, we want to come up." My sister did that. I was really young at the time, but they came up here, and uh, if you see the video, like you can kind of see like the start of the track that we've got.
Yeah.
So it's pretty funny because it's like just a little trail basically. But
Yeah.
honestly, I don't know if there's a link to that anywhere. I know there was on MTV a while ago, but I mean that was so long ago. So it might be on YouTube. I've got to take a look around too. It would be pretty funny to
Yeah.
watch again.
All right. Yeah. I had no idea. I was like, oh, I got to ask. I almost forgot. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, have a good evening. Thanks for staying on. Thanks everyone for hanging out with us tonight. And we'll catch you later.
Thanks, guys.
See you.
Bye.